that FCA,
Yes,
Lyon County?
your years of service at each co-op carry in forward into Ag Plus. So you're not starting over at zero today. Thank goodness, right?
Yeah, Megan, it's as long as you were punched in, it doesn't matter whether you was working or not.
I can always count on John to liven things up. I need help with that sometimes. So, sick leave. After 30-day probationary period, each regular full-time employee accrues sick leave at the rate of 1 day per month of service. Full-time employees can accumulate up to a maximum of 45 days of paid sick leave. So if there is an employee, if there's anybody out there that has more than 45 days, it's going to work like the vacation. You got 1 full year to get that number down to 45. So again, if you're over that today, you got a year to get that used up and down to 45. After 6 months of continuous employment, regular part-time employees working 60 to 79 hours per week will accrue 1.63 hours of sick leave per period. Employees will receive the regular rate of pay while on sick leave for 8 hours per day. So the sick leave in the handbook is on page 35. Vacation was on page 24. So everything I just talked about is in your employee handbook. I'm going to go over a couple more benefits, and then I'm going to stop and ask if there's any questions, so we can go back over that while it's fresh in your minds. All right, 401k. So again, we had some employers who were making contributions and matching employee contributions. Some were not. What we're going to is called a safe harbor plan, which means we have to do certain things to do that type of a plan. So what we're going to do is there'll be a company match on 401k. So we will match 1-to-1 for the first 3%, and then 0.5% on the next to 1 on the next 2%, up to a maximum of 4. So that gets kind of, let me try to explain it. So if you as an employee put in 1%, the company's going to put in 1. If you put in 2, the company's putting another one in, so the company's putting in 2. If you do a third one, the company also does a third one. So that's 3 from the company, 3 from you. If you decide to do a 4th%, the company's going to put in 1/2. And if you decide to do a 5th one, the company will put in 1/2. So if you contribute 5%, the company contributes 4. Okay? Clear on that one? For now, anyway? We also have the defined benefit program, or the pension. United Benefits Pension. You know, that's a benefit that doesn't happen very many places. It's a great benefit. It particularly becomes great as you start losing your hair and getting gray and old like me. You start to have a lot more appreciation for it. Yeah, John's putting it in Emmett, you know. But it really is a really great benefit. You can't get many places. The difference between the pension and the 401k is when you do a 401k, you have to make all those decisions about investing in yourself, and it's subject to whatever the market does and the timing of the market. So if you're planning to retire and all of a sudden the market drops, maybe you got to delay that retirement. You know, you don't know. The pension is a guaranteed benefit. It's based on a calculation. So it doesn't matter to you what the markets have done. That calculation doesn't change. It increases with years of service, but the calculation does not change. So when you can offer both of those as a company, you got the best of both worlds. You get to make some decisions on how you want your investments to look in a 401k, and then you got that pension that sits there and it's guaranteed income. You know, some of the pensions are, you know, you wonder, is it funded good? You hear about pensions being underfunded. I can tell you that I used to sit on the UBG board, and that particular plan is pretty well funded. It's certainly one of the best funded pension plans out there. So I'm pretty confident that that one's going to be around for us. Uniform allowances, we're going to provide up to $400 a year for uniform allowances. AFLAC is still going to exist. And then we have employee discounts. Be a 5 cents per gallon discount for home heat and personal use only. 5 cents per gallon for transportation fuel, personal use only. 10% over the cost price of hardware and tires for personal use only. 10% discount on lawn and garden chemicals and fertilizer. All service and labor work to be done at current labor rate charges. So I think that kind of covers benefits. I'm just going to talk a couple more comments about that and then open it up for questions. So I know that as the three companies came together, again, things have to change a little bit. There were some things that, from an employee perspective, maybe weren't quite as good. There's others that were better. And I know that, you know, if you're an employee that ended up with a little more money coming out of your pocket for benefits, I know it's not fun. I understand that. I get that. It's not a very great feeling. But at the same time, you got to think about what's going on with healthcare costs. I mean, everybody knows they're skyrocketing. And I don't care what company it is, at some point, the company just can't continue to shoulder all those increases. You know, I've had to do that before where we've had to pass a little more expenses on to employees, and it's not fun. Nobody likes it. But I think everybody understands the costs that are going on and increasing. So I won't dwell on that. I understand it. I understand there's going to be some disappointment. But I also understand that if you look at the complete benefit package of Ag Plus, I'd be willing to put up against pretty much any business here in southern Minnesota. It's a great program. Again, I know that doesn't feel so great if you lose a little bit more than what you had, but it is a very good program. With that, are there any questions or clarifications at this point on benefits? Yeah, question.
How soon are we going to be eligible for new employees for 401k then?
How soon are we going to be eligible for new employees on 401k? What we have to do on the 401k is we're going to stay operating under the 3 existing plans for a little while. We have to give 90 days written notice to all employees before we can make a change. So we've got to get a new 401k provider picked, which we're working on very hard, and then we have to give 90 days notice. So whatever the current plan documents say, today is the answer to that question. And I'm sorry, I don't know exactly each plan. You can get that answer afterwards if you talk to Andrea or Angie or somebody will get that for you. But so that'll be a decision that we'll have to make as we adopt a new plan, and probably won't affect anybody here by that time, but it will affect new employees coming on. Answer your question?
Yeah.
Kind of?
Thanks.
Okay. Thanks for the question. Other questions? Yes?
Okay, I only work part-time, 10, 15 hours a week.
Okay.
Let me know I'm not eligible for anything.
So the question is, somebody that works part-time, 10 to 15 hours a week, is he eligible for anything? And before I'm going to answer that question, I'm looking at I think I know the answer, but for the most part, benefits are not offered to employees who do not work a regularly scheduled some type of a regularly scheduled classification. Am I correct in that? Yeah, at least 30 hours on it. When we say regularly scheduled, it means consistent throughout the year type of thing. Yes, yes. The question was, would he qualify discounts? Yes.
As the manual pertains to breaks, lunch breaks and periods are intended to provide employees an opportunity to make them work. Sometimes, given scheduling and staffing, phone coverage, that's not always possible. Sometimes when someone's on lunch, they're Andrea, every day you tell her, send a phone call. How does that work?
So the question is, in the handbook, it talks about all non-exempt employees will take a break. Is it 15? Half hour break. That is not necessarily a choice of Ag Plus. That is federally mandated law. So we have to really try to abide by that to the greatest extent we can. And I know we're in Ag, and I know that, been around long enough to know that sometimes it may not happen, but we really want to try to abide by that as much as we can. Any?
Right along with that question,
Yeah.
I was at a company before that automatically took a half-hour lunch off. The only one that did not. Like, I need something like that, or we're working out in the field.
So the question was, some companies just automatically deduct a half hour, right? They just do it. We have not talked about doing that, to my knowledge. And so, at this point, we aren't going to do that. Other questions on benefits?
Oh, yeah. For the 401K, like I put the same amount in 6 weeks. So
The question is, you put in same amount every week, how do we match that? So we'll look at whatever percent you're putting in, we will match it based off that schedule I talked about. So if you're putting in 3, we're going to match it with 3. If you get up to putting in 5, we're going to put in 4.
Okay, the C-store business, as you probably know, is a totally different animal than what everybody else does. We work 7 days a week, we work holidays, well, we close on Christmas. Otherwise, we're open all those other days of the week. So some of the things that I think we talked about, for the full-time and part-time people that work 8 to 5 type of thing, a lot of my people, and I don't disagree with them, thought there's a lot of different questions on some of the different benefits and some of the different things that they get, or some of the things that maybe they have to do. So maybe that's the meeting we can have with the C-store people.
I think that's a great idea. So Don was just saying, sometimes the C-store and with how it's operated and the hours and the days and everything that goes on there, sometimes things are a little bit different, and was wondering if we could have a meeting for that group. And I think it's a great idea. We'll get that scheduled. We could even do, we can do a couple of those so we can spread it out a little bit. Anything else on benefits?
How about the holiday if it lands on a weekend?
The holiday ends up on a weekend.
Saturday,
Saturday and Friday off then?
I don't know that we talked about that. Typically,
Saturday, you should have Friday off, Sunday.
yeah. I mean, typically in the past organizations I've been at, that's kind of how we did it. We We will clarify that and get something out, but that's probably where it'll end up. Let's clarify that. You guys keep asking good questions, so appreciate that. I mean, again, we probably have not thought of everything and put like these three together. All right, I'm gonna move on. If there's additional questions on benefits, please let me know afterwards. So again, I'm gonna repeat a little bit what Pete talked about, but why did the company merge? A big driver is economy of scales. People always ask me, why do these mergers keep happening? Money is one thing. I can tell you that the last merger I went through between two local co-ops, we saved about $9 million. I'll tell you that when United Suppliers merged with Land O'Lakes, that was about $40 million. So as long as there's those kinds of money to be saved, you're going to continue to see mergers happen. It's also about attracting and retaining people. People want opportunities. They want to see a company that's growing. They want to feel like they have opportunities. Sometimes that gets really hard to do if you're a stagnant company and not growing. So it's about attracting and retaining employees. Thirdly, it's about enterprise value to customers. What do I mean by enterprise value? If you think about our customers, you think about how, particularly on the ag side, how sophisticated the customers have become. They're doing a lot of sophisticated things. It's gotten to the point where if we're going to bring true value to that customer, none of us, including myself, is smart enough to do that on our own. I can't possibly know enough about agronomy and about fuel and insurance and grain and everything that they do myself to bring total value. But if I got a team and we work with that producer as a team, we can bring a lot of value. So it's about creating that enterprise value. We're going to have some core values at Ag Plus. Customers are going to be first. Not that they weren't, but customers are going to be first. Now that doesn't mean the customer always gets everything they want, because we'd be in trouble then, right? But what it does mean is that we're always going to think about the customer as we make decisions. I'll give you a great example of that. It was a core value I used to have. And so I put that core value at a company I used to work for. I put that core value out there, got everybody to understand it, know it, and about 2 weeks after that, we closed the location. You can imagine what I heard. How's that putting the customer first? What it means is sometimes you still got to make hard decisions that work for the company. But the other thing it meant was we took a look and we said, okay, when we close that, how is it going to affect our customers? What can we do and what do we need to do to make that impact as minimal as we can? So we put together plans and we did things to help lessen that impact of the customer. So that's an example when I say customers are always first. We can't always give them every last thing they want, but we really got to think about what we can do to help them as much as we can and still run a profitable business. We're going to operate with honesty and integrity. As I mentioned, safety is the top priority for employees and for customers. Employee development, we're going to concentrate on that. People want opportunities. You're going to get opportunities, but we've got to make sure people are prepared for those opportunities. And lastly, we're going to operate profitably while growing. As we put these three companies together and we do this merger, we're going to make mistakes. We're all going to make mistakes. And I'm okay with that. Mistakes happen, right? My goal, and all of your goals, I hope, are to make those mistakes as small as we can. We want to make sure we don't make the big mistakes. And we want to make sure little things and little mistakes don't get to be big mistakes and big things. So the best way to avoid that is to make sure if there's a mistake, if there's something that's not happening right, is to let somebody know. Let your supervisor know and let us get on top of it and get it solved. The worst thing we can do is to be afraid of getting in trouble and not bringing these out. Because they're going to come out eventually, trust me. They're going to come out, and when they come out that way, then they're big. So from my viewpoint, I don't get mad at people because mistakes happen. That's part of business, part of life. But when I do get upset is if they keep happening. You know, if mistakes happen, we've got to kind of figure out why. What can we do to keep them from happening again? And the other thing that will irritate me is if it was a little mistake and we try to brush it under the rug and we don't want to talk about it, we don't want to try to fix it, pretty soon it does become a big thing. That will irritate me. But mistakes will happen. Don't be afraid. Nobody's going to get on my bad list because something went wrong. We just got to get it addressed and get it fixed. The other thing I'll tell you is that we need every good employee that's in this room today. We got a big job in front of us. Competition doesn't get any easier. You're all extremely valuable employees. We want every one of you. Might you have to do something a little differently in the future? Possible. But this organization needs good employees. As was talked about earlier, the three companies and its employees and the customers are going to be better off with these companies together than they were separately. It might take a little while for that to come out, but we'll get there. Particularly if we all work together.